The Nasdaq and the S&P 500, we started to get some good churning, some good action. But the thing that pushed us over the edge today, the thing that got us some of that momentum was the debt ceiling. We had some big, in my opinion, steps forward that we've been looking for, and things I think that are setting the precedent for some continuation here. And that's what we're talking about. So when we look at this news and look at what's happening, first there was kind of some good and there was bad. So first of all, we had the GOP said the debt limit strategy is flirting with the default, which is bad news, obviously. And then yesterday we had news about the debt ceiling possibly getting a date to get a vote for this thing, right? Possibly passing it through. And then this morning, things kind of set in motion as we saw from Bloomberg as well. House Republicans plan to vote next week. That was announced this morning around like 5 a.m. Central. And that's ultimately what got the Nasdaq really churning here, where we pushed from basically 13.17, broke through highs, pushed up to 13.3, kind of came back down. Now, in between that time, we had some news. We had some earnings coming out this morning. But before we get into that content, before we explain exactly where we're going and go over stocks that we mentioned last night as well, I've asked you to do two things. Consider liking and subscribing. Every single day I make videos here on the channel, so you are up to date no matter what's happening in the market. You can always know here on the channel, we're going to be covering what is happening every single day. Good, bad, or ugly. We're talking about it. Now, going also too, right now on Instagram, the link is down below. Make sure you check us out. We do our short form content over there all the time, every single day as well. One thing that I will say though, we are having a giveaway for 45,000 subscribers here on YouTube. We'll do another big one, an even bigger one at 50K. But just know we're doing the giveaway on Instagram. You have to subscribe there, and then you'll follow the giveaway instructions. There's 120 people in there now. The winner will be announced April 21st, so about 3 days, give or take. Make sure you sign up. I believe it's this Friday when we're giving that away. So again, check that out. Let's get back to it. Okay, so a few things before we jump right into the video. I'm going to say, obviously, we're releasing today's video a little bit earlier. I have some personal stuff that I'll be doing with Ali today. So I have to pump out this video as quickly as possible before I have to leave. Also, too, we have earnings going into tonight. Tonight, we have Netflix earnings. I do want to highlight that right now. April 18th, 4 p.m. Eastern is when that drops. So right at open, you'll get that information on Netflix. Okay, right at close, you're going to get that information. Now, the big thing that happened today is, again, the debt ceiling, and then we had Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. Those were the big earnings this morning. Now, Goldman didn't do so well. Bank of America did well with like the other banks, such in the same sector, you know, Citi, Wells Fargo, etc. Right now, JP Morgan outperformed Goldman, in my opinion, obviously based on the report. Now, what I'm going to say here, though, is there's a common denominator with these banks right now. They're all saying there's going to be a mild recession, a pullback, this, that. Now, we kind of confuse the fact of sometimes that a recession does not necessarily mean that it's going to affect stocks the same way. And you think in your head, well, Tyler, if there's a slowdown with the economy, it's probably going to pull back the market. Now, we could argue that all day long, but what I will say is that the market's already pulled back 30, 40%. So there's a little bit of give and take of what's happening. And are you actually getting the value right now? And are big buyers coming back into play where we're at here? That's the major question. But also going a little bit further is, can you get some more continuation through this? So that's where we're at. That's what we're talking about. And that's the main focus is on the day. Banks did well. They think the bank volatility is over. They think that bank crisis has subsided. Okay. As far as the big banks, there's no real concern there. Now going further though, into these levels again, before we go too far, before we, cover too much, I like to say the same thing every single day, right? We have three levels we're watching right now. We have 12.95, and this is all in the Nasdaq. So if you're following the indexes, I think you have to follow the Nasdaq because it's the most important right now. You have the Nasdaq 12.95. If that level breaks, you turn into a bear. If that level breaks, you have downside. You have a lot of cause for concern. Number one. Number two, the median point is right here at the 13.1 area. That's like the next biggest level, right? Because we're pushing up and now we're mounting that. So you can see that we were actually holding below for some days. We actually pushed above, broke the trend, it got back above, mounted, pushed up. Okay, that's number two. And then the last real line of defense for sellers is 13.2, right about here where we're at right now, where we're getting rejected, where we pushed down this morning. Now I'll say something. The daily candle so far, what we're looking at, we're not going to be here for the end of the day, but we have to say the daily candle does not look that beneficial for bulls, but we're still above a lot of big, massive levels that we've been tracking. And going a little bit deeper, like I've been saying, as you don't maybe get the full story when you just look at Nasdaq. Because if we looked over the past few days and weeks, NQ has led this rally since, the end of January. But when we really take a look, ES, the S&P futures, the Dow Jones are still rallying, making higher highs and higher lows. ES is doing the very same thing. You can call us a wedge, call us whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is we continue to have this uphill battle, and bulls seem to be winning as of right now, looking at the charts. Going into Dow also, that's ES, this is Dow. You still made a higher high. You're trying to hold above like 34,000. It's a good hold, okay? Now, again, I think today is really big because we're going to have that determining factor of coming in with those Netflix earnings. And this may be the spark that tech needs, because over the past 2 days, we've seen a little bit of sluggishness from some of these tech stocks. Okay. Now we're seeing the pushback. We're seeing the resilience come back into names that really got us to where we are, such as NVIDIA. Today and yesterday, NVIDIA monster rally from 264 at lows. We mentioned this on the channel last week as well. You pushed up, you're back at their high range, 279, 280. You get above 280, Jay's been saying it in Discord all week. Okay, he's been saying it. You get above this 279, 280, you're pretty illiquid up into 300. So you have to expect a rally if you start to hold above this and get some momentum with the Nasdaq as well into 300 here. Okay, and then going a little bit deeper, I want to mention some stuff we mentioned yesterday here, going into some stocks we mentioned, right? I told you guys, what was I playing? AMD. And if you're not following on Twitter, I'll go over that in a second, right? At 222, I bought calls for May 19th, a little bit dated, $3 a pop, right? Today, they hit 3.9. Do what you got to do. Get out, take your money. I don't really care. I had some runners. I said stops at break even. Those never even hit, and you're still going right now. Giving you a for instance, though, going to what's happening here on Twitter. I post on Twitter quite a bit. I may not post everything, but whenever I do, boom, look. Bottom video when you called this out, up 96. I didn't even know who this person. I really have no idea who this person is. 19 hours ago, what did I post for you guys? Absolutely free, right? I posted value on AMD 19 hours ago before the close when I mentioned it in Discord here. Look at how you're going now. We have winners from Discord, $1,000, $1,000. Those are just a few. Those are people that are just posting them. But again, it's to show when you're patient, you wait for these to come to you. The setups are there, guys. The setups will continue to be there. You do not need to be bum rushing into the market. You do not need to be hyper aggressive. If you're patient, I'm telling you right now, the setups will continue and continue to come to us, guys. And that's been the moral of the story all the way since the end of January. We've been practicing patience, playing the breakouts, and playing where the market is hot. Now, a little bit deeper, I want to talk about another name, Charles Schwab. I kept saying out of all the names I liked, Charles Schwab was my favorite. They just had earnings last Friday. You kind of dipped down a little bit with $49, and we're pushing back up to 54, 53. Okay, you have room up into that 200 SMA to near $60. That's where I'm going to be looking for that bad boy. Still continuation here. A lot of these bank names, you're seeing them getting out of the trenches. Bank of America, you pushed up, you're getting a little bit of weakness, falling back down with the SPY. But again, you expect this when you're hitting some of these levels. JP Morgan really rallying. Goldman, big dip this morning, bouncing right back. So you're still seeing strength in this sector. And it's important that we mention the banking sector because you're seeing maybe the weakest area of the market over the past month and a half starting to show strength. These are the things you wanted to see. You want to see the weak areas start to show strength because if that happens, that's what's going to fuel your breakout here, okay? What are the two biggest sectors in the SPY? Semiconductors and banks. Those are your biggest sectors that involve into the SPY as far as making up monetarily value of the SPY, okay? Or percent wise, right? So you have to understand that. And so when you start to see that, first or second biggest area starting to show strength again, it has to get you excited. And I believe that's what's fueling this move on SPY. And that's what continues to get us to push. But I'm going to tell you something right now. ES and SPY, you're at a massive level. The battle is right here. You had your first test. Remember, the past few days we've been saying it. What are we expecting? What are we looking for? A 4,200 ES test. That's what we want to see. You got really close today, obviously. You got to like 41.99 basically, $1 in range. Okay, so you're getting that push you wanted. Obviously, the reaction right now, sellers are stepping in, but I want people to realize what's happening as you take a step back. As we look at daily charts, look at the candles. Okay, people want to say, oh, this is a rug pull, this is a trap, this is that. But if you really take a step back and you come at this from an unbiased point of view, it's right there in front of you. Okay, there's no signs of bearish behavior yet. You're moving up with, yes, people want to say decreased volume. You don't need to have crazy volume to rise up. We've gone over this over the past months, years, and weeks. We've shown you all the examples. Typically, when you get high volume is when you get a reversal. That's typically what you'll see. But right now, you're still moving in that steady trend. Good to see. We like what we're seeing. But again, we're not going to rush plays. We're not going to be hyper aggressive, okay? We're going to be patient. We're going to wait for these breakouts, wait for the signal, wait for the entry opportunity. Because why? Cash is also a position. We do not need to be jumping from one play to the other. Rather, we need to be sitting, waiting like a hunter, right? We need to be hunting for our plays for the right opportunity, right? We don't want to miss and take a bad shot. We don't want to over leverage our account. We don't want to take an unnecessary loss, right? That's the name of the game here, right? So sometimes, even if you're in Discord, like, Tyler, you haven't really done any big trades lately. You haven't done any swings lately. Well, if I don't see a play, I'm not going to take it, right? I hadn't taken a play in about 2 or 3 days, right? As far as a big swing. And then I step into AMD, I size up accordingly, I make my 30%, leave a runner or two, I'm good to go, right? It's not about making $20,000, $2,000, $500 a day. It's about understanding what your goals are, what your strategy is, and having a plan. Before I let you out of here, I want to share one thing with you real quick. I posted this a little bit earlier, and I think that this is something, and I would love to hear your comments on this specifically, because I think this can elevate your trading tenfold. 100%, I think this can change the way you trade. As traders, you need to have a trade plan. When you get more seasoned, you can react on the fly, go back and forth, whether it be scalping SPY. You can scalp it to 414, then scalp it back down to 412, whatever you're doing. Don't focus on what you missed. Focus on what you caught, whether it's right or it's wrong. Get better, right? We said it yesterday. Get 1%, 0.5%, 0.2%. You got to get better every single day. And we see this all the time, even in Discord, on Twitter, everywhere. Hindsight millionaires, what no one wants to talk about, they live in the past. They live on what they missed on. They live, and we know these people in our life. I know these people in my life. Understand, the people that continue to live in the past, oh, I used to do this, I used to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? They're not living in the present. They're not focusing on getting better every day. They're not focused on fixing their craft, because it's really apparent to sometimes the outside looking in say, well, that person just needs to fix X, Y, and Z. They need to maybe change their mental aspect. They need to maybe work a little bit harder. But when you focus on everything but what you could be doing to get better and focus on what you missed on, you're not getting better, people. You're doing the exact opposite. Chances are you're getting worse. You're going to continue to focus on what you did to miss that play, and you're not going to get better. It's about taking steps forward and not taking steps backwards. I can only say this so much, guys. The goal of this channel is to not, be a signals channel. Discord is not a signals channel. That's not what it is, right? That's 100% not what it is. It's an area, it's a community for people to get better. It's an area for us to talk about trades, find new trades, everything in between, keep you up to date as well, though. It's a tool like everything else. That's what our Discord is. But even this channel, it is a tool, and you should use this as an indicator, something to further yourself, something to push yourself, something to maybe critique yourself. We don't need to be people that are getting offended by everything that's being said, right? I might be a little rude sometimes. Who cares, right? You can be rude right back to me. I won't get offended. Take your anger out on me. I don't care. We really don't care here on the channel. We don't care on the team, right? The goal is to continue to get better every single day.